What's up, y'all? We back. Another episode of No Pump Fakes. And we got another special guest on the show. We got Charles Oakley on the show. What's going on, man?
Man, just trying to get this book out, man. You know, The Last Enforcer. Got to let them know I'm out here.
Of course. So talk to us a little bit about that. Obviously, your book called The Last Enforcer. So give us a little bit about it.
Well, it's a book, my life, growing up with my grandparents, my grandmother, grandfather, and all of my uncles and aunts, and, just the huff and buff every day, watching them grow as a kid and getting that therapy for his toughness and, looking at them and seeing life is not easy. It's a stress you have to go through to grow up. And, I followed my grandfather's footsteps as being tough and strong-minded. And just the book just got a lot of conversation and stuff in the NBA, stuff I've been through with other people, just good stories. And it's a good read.
What inspired you to write the book?
Over the years, then being in New York, being on the back page and being on podcasts, telling my stories, everybody get my content. So I thought, well, put it to use and let me do it myself.
Yeah, and you talked about the mental hurdles, right, that you kind of dealt with a little bit off the court. But how do you think you kind of carry that with you in your play on the court?
Good question. It's just in this book, I'm giving it to you. I mean, anything you would think that you want to know from the 80s and 90s about me, just in general, how do someone come from inner city and make it and come back and put people on their back and show love. And that's what I did.
Now, everybody talks about go ahead, Diz.
No, I was just going to say, so I'm going to say, if you're okay, 2 titles of the chapters, right? Obviously, I'm not going to give anything away, of course, what's inside the book. So the first one being Knocking Out a Jackass, and the last chapter being The Blood of a Legend, right? So two heavy titles for a chapter. So what do those kind of mean to you?
Well, the first one, I'm talking about someone playing in the league. They call them round bound, the rebound. I call them the round bound buffet. But, you can talk about Michael Jordan and LeBron back and forth and, like a Q&A, and people I always comparing them to who the best and this and that. Kobe's, sometime who the GOAT. And it's just a good read. And a lot of things I say, people might like, might not like, but when you can just have them in your book in a positive way, it's a great thing.
Now, you started your career with the Chicago Bulls. Can you talk about your relationship with Michael Jordan?
So in the book, I went to a historic black college, Virginia Union. I came out in 81, 85. I went there in 81, came out, 85 to the draft. They had no intention that I was going to be in a space that after my 4 years in college, I was going to get drafted and then get drafted to a place when you get to meet a guy, Michael Jordan, turned out to be the GOAT of basketball. I mean, it's like something you dream and never think like, wow, it came true. But no, he's a great guy. I'm glad I had a chance to play with him and play against him, travel with him, just be in his corner, be in his space to see how he operate. Just like a doctor in the emergency room. That's how you operate. He get the job done.
Yeah. Now, obviously, Oak, you attended an HBCU and made it to the league afterwards. But what advice would you have to younger HBCU players that have that same dream?
Well, I mean, you can dream, always dream. Have 3 or 4 things because you don't know which one going to work out. I didn't know this was my dream to be in the NBA. My dream was just to leave Cleveland and come back with something positive. And I only came back home one time in 4 years. So it wasn't about being in Cleveland because it was, the streets was bad. All my friends going to jail, getting 10, 20-year life. And I didn't want to come back to that. But when I came back, unfortunately, I got a chance to get drafted and, like I said, get to the NBA and make my life better, my, people around me better, my parents better. It was, that's how I looked at it. It's a great opportunity. Once you get there, you got to stay there, and that's what I did. I stayed 18 years.
How hard is it to stay in the league? A lot of people get there, but it's very hard to stay in the NBA.
Yeah, you're right. So I think is first of all, you got to be willing to listen, learn, work habit got to be great. They're gonna try you. They're gonna test you. You got to be humble. But you got to let them know that I can do all them things, but I'm not gonna let you run me over. And I ran into that road before that. They'll make you out a whooping boy, and you got to stand up for yourself. And that's what I learned from my grandfather. If you believe in something, you stand up for it.
And so, Charles, what's one thing that you want people to get out of your book, right? Like, what's, I guess, one lesson that you feel like people should definitely take away after reading it?
I mean, everybody said I was, in the book you can read, but I was tough on the court. But it's a tough-minded game. Life is tough-minded, and I think some people grow up different ways. But I know when I had to grow up, you had to be tough-minded. But in my book, just the consistency, what I'm talking about, how I made it through the ups and downs I had to go through, and just my life, just being a strong man and just being real with everybody. In the stories in the book, and when you read the book, it's like you can't put it down because I'm consistent with the story, with my journey, and everything in the book.
This is Black History Month. Can you talk about some of the trials and tribulations you kind of face growing up in your community, but also growing up during that time in the NBA?
Good question. Black History Month, we have a lot. It's so many people came, before, you, me, and led ways and fought for rights, make it better for us. I know my family from the South, and I think when King got assassinated, I was, and I was in Alabama, and I just, try to remember my grandparents and when they was, it was just, wow, the fight, they was putting up, but we fight and we lose our life for nothing. But we lose, like George Floyd, he lost his life for nothing, but we got something out of it. It touched a lot of people in all different races, and he brought people together, and what I'm saying, people lost their life, and we out here fighting one another, for no reason. And then when something happened, we rallied around one another. Now that's the most important thing I see and grow over the years. We trying to fight the situation, not just the family who were involved. We trying to come and get them energy and strength to fight the court system, the people who, out here in the streets. It's a lot of stuff out here that it would probably never get everything right, but as long as we can see a change is going, that's the most important thing. We need is a change. George Floyd made a change, and we see in the Arbor case and other cases have been going, we win it. We've been winning the cases in the court in the last 4 important cases. So I just see that we got to keep winning and hope the crime and all this, privilege stuff go out the window. Everybody, deserve. If you fighting for something, to give everybody a fair chance to fight for it. Like in a ring, a boxing match, football game. Just don't say, I'm not qualified. This person, play the race game. So we still got a long ways to go, but we can see some changes.
And lately, we've been seeing a bunch of professional athletes use their voice to speak on issues like this. But moving forward, how do you feel that overall, whether it be younger players or overall veterans, should kind of deal with this and overall use their platform?
Well, I really take my, my hat off to the young lady, the soccer, the tennis, what's the young lady name? She was mentally depressed, and they got mad because she said she couldn't go on in the match, but they don't believe us. They when we said something's wrong with us, but when something's wrong with them, they want us to believe them. So, like I said, we just got to realize what's the big thing at the end of the day is staying together, staying on the court, keep fighting, and like LeBron always speak up. a lot of his guys, and LeBron's one of the guys. Like when Jim Brown, when Ali, Bill Russell, all them back in the old day, they spoke up. Probably they ain't speak up for basketball. I probably wouldn't be in it where I'm at today. So we got to get more athletes, more corporate people to open up doors and give everybody the opportunity. Let them have their own platform.
And do you feel though that in situations like that, basketball was an escape for you, right? Like that was your safe haven, if you will.
Well, I mean, I still had to go through it. Even though I was on the basketball team, it was still happening. So maybe it kept me out the streets more, because more in the street, more can happen. So more I'm in the classroom and dormitory, is less can happen. So even though I was playing ball or whatever, it's still there. And sometimes you just gotta when you see it, try to help it. Like I said, it's gonna be there. It's just which way you go with it. I mean, they don't want us to voice our opinion, because our opinion, they figure we should be happy to be here. No, we shouldn't. We should. If you voice your opinion, we should be able to voice our opinion in an equal way. To me,
that's very important. You said that, because it just seems like so many times people forget that just because you make it to a certain level in life, success, right, NBA, that you're still not human, that you're still not African American male, African American woman, or a minority and stuff like that. So I think that's very important that you said that.
Yeah, and I agree too. And just the idea that like you're also an athlete, and obviously you weren't a person that was afraid to kind of be who you were. So what is it? And also too, right, playing in big city like New York, did you ever feel not necessarily just pressure, but just the idea of always having to be at a high level, always having to perform at a high level, always having to carry yourself in a different manner?
That was my walk of life, respect and carry myself. I think for us, like my thing, I'm a dresser, right? And when I was growing up, like, in Cleveland or whatever I was at, and I was around people, I hear people talk about if you're out after 6 o'clock, if you go to establish, you always have a jacket on or look presentable. Because a lot of people judge you. You got tennis shoes on, a hoodie. Dress like, they say we thugs. So I try not to give them a chance to question me who I am. Long as you see a man dressed nice, I could be a business guy or whatever. But we shouldn't be stereotyped. But that's how we have to. That's how we fight life. I mean, just like when Trayvon in Florida got killed. He had a hoodie on. I mean, he wasn't doing nothing, but they think because somebody with a hoodie on at nighttime or this and that. That's why I don't wear hoodies. I probably never see me in a hoodie because it's like a strike against us, because they always feel like, we up to no good, or, it's okay for them to wear a hoodie, but we up to some bad, doing something bad because we got hoodies on. But it's just crazy how they stereotype people these days. But if you're in Hollywood with a hoodie on, it's okay because you're around money. But when you're in the city with a hoodie on, you got to be a drug dealer, you got to be this and that. So it's just crazy.
Switch gears for a second. I know that everybody kind of talks about in the NBA having like physical toughness when you play, but can you also talk about the mental aspect of the game?
It's definitely, it can get to you. And I see that, and you see in the last 20 years, the game had changed, evolving to three-point shooting. The NBA and the guys and got more, say-so in the league. So I think that, for them to get more say-so, it's a sensitive league right now. And a lot of stuff come up, you like, why this, why that? But, the players got more control now. And, not just use it for your advantage, use it to make someone else, when they come up, build a bridge for someone else to cross besides you too, So it's just in basketball, it's just a different game. It's, a lot of trades today and players, trading one player for another player, one player for four players, and the talent is not there. I don't know what they see in trades. It's just a lot of bad trades to me.
How do you feel overall? How you How do you
Go
feel?
ahead.
How do you feel overall about the player movement in today's game? Like you kind of just touched on it a little bit, but like we just saw recently, James Harden just got traded after he really wanted to go to the Brooklyn Nets the following year. So how do you feel about that?
Well, he wanted to go to Brooklyn. Now he in Philly. I don't know. I mean, when you talk about these guys, I mean, yeah, they hate to say the veteran. We always talking about them, and they say it's their turn, but it's just the principle. The principles are left out the window for us basketball. They just happy-go-lucky guys, and can't say nothing to them, and they don't want to, they don't want to learn. And everybody say they want to win, but they don't want to sacrifice. You got to sacrifice to win. Like what LeBron going through in LA right now. Yeah, he sacrificed, but guys not just LeBron used to win with just him and anybody, four WNBA girls or whatever. Now it changed. He getting older, and guys not good as they think they say they are. So. It's just a tough league. You still got to be, my thing is, whatever you do in life, you still got to be disciplined. You got to be together. You got to have a leader. And, Chris Paul went to Phoenix and changed the whole narrative of the team because he's a leader. He's a real leader. And you don't have maybe about 4 or 5 real leaders in the league. And you can see like Giannis and the Greek Freak in Milwaukee, and what he did last year, he put the team on his back. I mean, a man can't make a jump shot or shoot a three, but he get 50 points. 40 points. So, just one of them things.
Yeah. And how do you feel too about loyalty, but at the same time, players being able to control their own destiny? So like a player deciding to stay with the franchise forever, or them being able to make the decision to leave through free agency or whatever the case may be?
I think when it's like control their destiny, this and that, if you're a free agent, you can control it. But if you got a contract, like AD had, James Harden, I think that's disrespect for you disrespect the team because they went out the way to give you this contract. Play it out. These guys signing the contract, 5-year deal, $175 million, but after 3 years, they want to go somewhere else. Play the contract out. LeBron played it out. They can never say LeBron has to be traded. Every time he left, he was a free agent. He didn't sign the 5-year deal. He signed a 3-year deal. So that was smart. Some people want the guaranteed money. I mean, you get all the guarantees, but I'm saying they want the long-term guarantee instead of the short-term. So LeBron had a vision that, why lock myself in? You might buy a CD. It's like buying a CD, and you can't get out. They charge you penalty. So he didn't sign the 5 years. He signed 3. So when he's in Cleveland should have known that when you offer a man $150 million for 5 years, and he only take a third, 3/4 of it. You should know that he had option coming after that contract was up. And everybody would blame him for how he did it. And it's so embarrassing that we can't do stuff the way I want. We can't do the same way we want to, but they can trade you at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning on their turn. It's just, it's crazy.
So isn't that why you think, I think that's why some players are kind of like getting their money and trying to get out, especially if they feel like, this organization is not putting me in the right position to win. Like you talked about the Phoenix Suns, and you talked about how Chris Paul came and kind of changed the entire franchise around with his leadership. But at the same time, was people talking about how Devin Booker was putting up empty stats, how Devin Booker wasn't great and stuff like that. So it kind of seems like it's a lose-lose situation in a way for certain players compared to others.
Devin Booker's been doing what he's been doing since he's been in the league, but they like certain guys. I can tell you a story when Jim Jackson was in the league with Dallas. He averaged 29 points, and then he made the All-Star team. And Booker, last 2 or 3 years, he got the numbers, the team, this and that, but every year they knock him to a reserve or on the bench. So he's a bright guy. He don't play into that. All he do is care about his team winning, and they my favorite to win the championship this year because Chris Paul is showing that he's keeping himself together. They had a couple of pieces, so Monty Williams doing a great job coaching. So long they got the lead with Chris Paul and what they're doing, they know what they got to do, and they got better. And so that's the most important thing. Now Milwaukee got better too. They had a couple of pieces, so it's gonna be Milwaukee improved a lot even with the trade with Ibaka. And Porter always been like underrated because I think he's the key to their team.
How do you feel too about chemistry, right? And just the idea of like when you obviously put talent on the floor, you might think it works out, but it's chemistry an underrated or underappreciated piece of the game?
Well, great question, because that's what LA going through right now.
I wasn't going to say a team, but yeah.
Yeah, LA going through that right now with LeBron, AD, and this guy, that guy. They got 4 Hall of Famers on the team, and they 4 or 5 games under 500. But you got to have chemistry. See, these guys, they got all guys on the team that need the ball. In any game, any shape or form, you need role players, and I think that's out the window. Unless you got I thought LeBron could self-will them guys to, buy into what, let him be the dictator, this and that. But it's just something's wrong with that team. I thought they would be together. It's 55, 60 games in the season, and they're struggling like they was the first 10 games of the season. And I don't know, man. I just feel bad for him. I was saying he need to get out of there, go to Phoenix, Philly, but they didn't make no moves. He got to get out of there.
But LeBron, you think
who?
LeBron?
Yeah.
You think LeBron should leave the Lakers?
Yeah, they not getting no better. They got no cap space, no picks, no room for free. Ain't no. So you got to be like the Greek freak. You got to have somebody going down here. I mean, Philly improved themselves. If it be good in the post, Philly would be the best team in basketball. But he want to shoot jump shot, 3-pointers. So
what's wrong with that though?
Yes, what's wrong with it? If you shooting 3, what they want, the guards a rebound? You ain't playing with Westbrook get triple double. You playing with, let the guards shoot outside. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with it. It's a new way of basketball. But if you want to talk about you want to win a championship, that's what we're talking about, chemistry. You got to be inside. They got the double team, so when you pass the ball out, somebody open. They give your team better chance to make shots when they open. Not we're always guarding.
Do you think he would be more willing to get inside since he has a elite perimeter player in James Harden now?
I don't know what these guys. I don't even try to think because I see so much wrong. So who knows what these guys think about? No, he probably still be outside right beside James. They gonna run pick and roll, so he gonna flare instead of roll to the basket. Ain't nobody gonna stand in front. He like a runaway freight train. If he rolls to the basket, everybody gonna just move out the way because big. He's so much bigger than everybody.
High pick and roll. I think it's just kind of like the game is so modern now with these bigs. Like it's not like the traditional bigs back when you kind of played with Shaq and stuff like that, being in the post dominated.
I mean, it's always gonna be one that stand out. He's standing out like Shaq, but Cleveland got 3 7-footers on the floor. Milwaukee got 3 7-footers on the floor. I mean, so that's why Milwaukee beat Portland Phoenix. They played Lopez, Porter, and the Greek Freak. I mean, same thing with Cleveland doing this year. I mean, so I think the game going back to tradition, in and out, big guy in the post. But we got to when Curry didn't get to leave, probably definitely gonna go back because guys can't shoot like them guys, and they struggling shooting right now. So you got to I think Golden State look good right now, but when the playoff comes, you play the same team 7 times. That they can play a zone. They can just double team your best player, make somebody else beat you. I don't know.
Also, Draymond's been out too.
Yeah, well,
he hasn't been healthy.
Barkley Draymond triple double is 8, 7, 7.
He does his role. He does his role, right? I mean,
that's my man, Draymond. I'm just saying, Barkley talks shit about it. That's why I smacked his ass.
There you go. There you go. All right. But my man Ahmad, he likes to use this term media darlings, right? And basically some players are given passes, if you will, right? If they have bad games, there's always a reason. But there's some players who, if they play bad, it's their fault. They're the reason why. So what's your thought on like certain players receiving either more attention or not the same amount of energy when they don't play up to their the way that they can?
Well, if you see what they always blame LeBron whenever his team lose. It's just crazy. And you watch football with Skip Bayless, if Tampa Bay lose, he blame everybody except Tom Brady. But I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, these guys, like I say, they got freedom to take many shots they want. But I mean, when James Harden was in Houston, he drove the ball. In Brooklyn, I think last year in Brooklyn, they could have won. I think he shouldn't have came back to try to play. Some people can't play hurt. Like Baker Mayfield trying to play hurt this year in football. You barely playing when you ain't hurt. Some people can't because you got to throw the ball, you got to read defense, you got to roll out, and then you heard, especially James ain't really the quickest point guard, beat you off the dribble, this and that. So you all about trying to use your self will, but sometimes self will can't get it done. You got to be physical, ready to get it done. Like now, he come back out of shape and then look good. He looked bad all year. I mean, so we got to wait and see what he do with Philly. But I mean, some guys should take the blame. Because you're making $50 million, everybody else making 15, 10. So when you sign a contract and you know that you sign a super max, it's on you to make your team go. I ain't saying you got to win. You got to be the high scoring point every game, but you got to keep them up, engaged every game. Like you got to be the coach on the floor.
And so, too, going off that, right? How do you think today's players would match up with the playing style back in the 80s and 90s?
I'd say about 20% probably can play back in the 80s and 90s because it was all about it was all about milling and tough. You cry, they give you some cookies and milk, and then you still got to go out and play. I mean, my finger jam. They played hurt back then. They didn't sit out 2 or 3 months and then come back when they want to. Then they start getting. Most time back in the older days, you get hurt, and 90% of the time you lose your job. That's how it was. So
why do you feel? Why was that?
It's just the next guy just as good as the guy on the floor, and they was hungry. I mean, so practice every day was real high level, and just like Michael Jordan. I don't know, he's probably already what he was, but when I got to Chicago, Pete Myers used to push him every day. A few other guys, they got into him. They go at him. So that's how it was. I mean, I ain't saying Pete Myers is going to take his job, but the way he practiced against them guys really prepared him for the game. Sometimes people have practice, they don't get you ready for the game. But practice in the older days got you ready for the game.
You said you felt like 20%. So I want to ask you, what NBA superstars in today's game do you think will have to adjust their game the most if they played back in the 90s and the 80s?
Just about all of them. That's a KD. He can shoot over anybody's net, but back then you could hand check. LeBron. Everybody was LeBron side. Everybody 6'9", 6'10", 240, 250. So the lane wasn't going to clear up. LeBron definitely could have played. KD. I think James Harden would have a problem because you couldn't dominate the ball like that. More you dribble, the worse. You killing your team. It was like 2 or 3 dribbles and pass, not 12 dribble and keep dribbling.
Let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you the opposite. Like, what players from your era do you think would be, have success or even more success, like playing in this style, where it's like free, open?
80% of it's a flip flop.
Is it flip flop?
No, I'm saying 20% of them, 80%. So 80% couldn't play in our era, but 80% of us could play in their era.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Who do you feel? What superstar player do you feel like would down other than Michael Jordan? But like, what superstar player in your time do you feel like would really, really like shine and showcase in this era?
AI, all of them. You can all just your wing guys, the scores. It'll be easy to score. Because, there's no help defense. Most guys, 2 dribbles, you beating your guy, ain't no help. So they'd be looking at their fingers because it'd be like, eating pork chops.
and it's funny too, because you mentioned Mike in practice and how, players pushed him to like just overall be better. But now I feel like a lot of players are buddy-buddy, right? A lot of players are nice. Everyone wants to, shake hands and, the social media and all that stuff. So how do you feel? Like, what's your thoughts on just like when it's game time, like we are competitors? Like what's your mindset towards that?
Well, I think it started in college. If I'm in college and getting in a fight with other team, getting into one of them guys, I don't want to shake their hand. Not in the NBA, they shake a hand, 3 guys, 1 guy falls, 4 guys run to pick him up. Like, the flow's still going to be there. But it's just what they do now. They all, AAU guys, and they used to playing together, going to eating dinner. So it's a big change.
That's why I would say it's kind of refreshing to see Giannis Antetokounmpo. Guys are like, yo, I can't be buddy because he kind of brings that old school mentality, that old school feel back into this NBA.
He doing his thing. I mean, I was like skeptical because he couldn't make a jump shot free throw, but after what he did last year, he won me over. I was because I know even like he wouldn't have been a force back in the days. That's
would or would not. Would or would not.
He wouldn't have been a force.
Why is that?
He would have struggled because they would make him 2 jump shots, and he wasn't gonna be doing no Europe to the basket like he doing. You'll step to the basket and just get layup. No, somebody gonna knock his head off. I mean, I'm glad he's doing what he's doing now, but he definitely wouldn't. He been come on the bench back in the days.
Yo, come on.
That's kind of heavy.
Come on.
The first time I was like, maybe.
Two-time MVP coming off the bench, Giannis? I don't know about that, Charles.
Giannis as a 6 man is kind of heavy.
I don't know about that. With his speed, I mean, he's 6'10", 280, can run like a gazelle.
And that's nothing to... he's not skinny. He's
muscle, though.
He's taking the protein mix.
He
put some muscles on.
Yeah.
But no, he would have had problems, though. I mean, they would put a guy on him like... He's not a great dribble with the ball like KD. So KD
he can still He can still handle. Who's guarding Giannis during your time?
Well, if he playing, I'm guarding being power forward, the next power forward. I mean, it didn't matter. But he wouldn't have been, 50 and can't make a free throw or jump shot. No, he'd be at the free throw line.
Hey, you know what? I like your answer just now. You said I would be guarding, but 2, you said power forward versus power forwards, and so that, my thing is there's a lot of cross matchups that happen nowadays. So how do you feel about that? Right, we
wouldn't be switching though. We don't switch.
Yeah,
we might trap the pick and roll, but we're not switching 1-on-1. No, a 2, 3, 4. My thing, I would play anything 3, 5, 3, 4, and 5. We might switch that, but we ain't switching no 1 and 4 or 2. No, big can switch. Not big on small. No, you hurt your defense because they breaking you down. They're gonna run right to the block, and you still got a double team. So why switch it?
Yeah. Also, the paint was closed too, so that makes sense. But still, I still think Giannis would dominate. I think Giannis would dominate. I think LeBron would dominate. I think Kevin Durant would dominate as well. Especially if you keep keeping what they I'm just saying, especially if you keep what they do right now.
And he can come back with me.
There's a lot of people that wish that. There's a lot of people. Yeah. But it's funny too. I think we mentioned a lot of front court players. I know you mentioned AI too, but nowadays when we talk about hand checking, right, dealing with the ball on the perimeter. So how do you think backcourt players as well would kind of deal with that?
I mean, it's been the same way. I think, I mean, they was, it wouldn't been too much different. I mean, most teams, even though I know back in the days, somebody had to win, somebody had to lose, but team was stacked. I mean, 7, 8, 9. I mean, good players. Like now, if a guy can get hurt, like the best player on, like I said, if Giannis got hurt for Milwaukee, they might lose 6 out of 8 games. Back in the old days, teams, they skip a beat. The next guy was just like, okay, the other guy might have got 28, I'm getting 25. So it's basically almost, it's a wash,
It's crazy. It's crazy you say that because we saw that with the GOAT. We saw, Michael Jordan retire, and then Scottie Pippen was, took that team almost to the NBA Finals. Yeah.
So.
How do you feel about Scottie Pippen?
I mean, they had good chemistry though. So I mean, it's just like when Steve Curry went out in Golden State for that. And what's the name? Luke Walton or whatever name won like 40 out of 46 games. So sometimes the players, sometimes the coach, but in that case, Golden State, it's the players.
Yeah. How do you feel about Scottie Pippen? I always get into debates with people when I talk about Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan because I always say, my debate is I think that Scottie Pippen was a top 5 player during your time when the Bulls went on those runs.
Oh, definitely. He's skilled. I mean, can play 1 through 5. He's a problem. I mean, especially on defense and team. And, like he can guard. He can make the guard. That's like with him and Ron Harper did against the Pacers in the series. But he's a problem because he can do a lot. Athletic, block shots, rebound. Okay shooter. But at the end of the night, they said LeBron can't shoot, but he ended up with 38-8 or something like that. So I ain't saying Scott is good as LeBron, but he's somewhere he's in the conversation.
Was he a top 5 player during that time though, during those championship runs?
I mean, I can put him top 10. I don't know. You might have a good.
Yeah,
I think 8, 10. I ain't said top 5.
You saying top 5? Okay.
I mean, it ain't bad.
Top 5 is tough.
I think it was top. Yeah.
So, top 5 is tough. I mean, it's it's tough to be, and that's a special group, right? That's a whole different tier of players that you mentioned.
I said,
team, so he had to be, he top, definitely top 10 player.
Yeah.
Isaiah, I think he was the top 5 back in his era, but he didn't make the dream team. So,
why?
Politics are,
And Charles can talk about it a little bit because he kind of talked about it in his book because it kind of like stemmed back from that 1985, like that kind of like beef between Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas. Like it's kind of started in that 1985 All-Star game.
Yeah, they froze him out. And they seen something, like you say, you look down the road, you look twice, you thought you saw something, then you really see it. That's what they saw Michael Jordan when he's coming to the league. And they try to freeze him out. And, they say he was the main leader. And he trying to say he never did, but we found out. So then he tried to say MJ was the one that he went on the dream team. Your own coach is always gonna pick one of their players if you all-star. And Chuck Taylor didn't pick him, but I don't know. He keep crying about it, but it ain't gonna change. Michael ain't gonna speak to him. Don't want to be around him. And then they beat him in that game 6, and he tried to sneak around Bill Laimbeer and walk up the court. They want to shake the man's hand. So why you want to be his friend? I mean, so he don't want to be your friend.
I mean, that's a fact. I mean, even like it's crazy because a moment like that, it's been years since that moment, but I still feel like it's had a huge impact over the overall landscape of the league. Because talent-wise, Isaiah was definitely like that. But sometimes,
I ain't never saying he had a talent.
Right. I'm just saying, like in general, like politics and everything can play a huge factor in a lot of this stuff.
I can say I had a decent number many years in the East. When All-Star votes came up, they picked the ones who they liked. They picked the McHale and all of them. I know Barkley had more talent than me, but I mean, sometimes you should pick the guy according to what he's doing for the team. Like I like when they said, if you're on a losing team, you should be on an All-Star. It's just simple as that. Pick the guys on the winning team. That would give a hardworking guy might make it. But you always gonna just pick like said this year, a team 19-32, but he having 28 points. I mean, okay, with the 28 points, ain't moving the needle. The team ain't, so don't award him. Award the man who 35-10 or 42-8. It may have 3 guys, but at least they showing up every night. The fans coming out enjoying the game.
I'm glad you respect winning. I really do. Because I'm glad you respect winning when it comes to All-Star voting, because there's some people on this podcast, I won't say any names, but there's some people that don't really believe in winning. They think it's just like,
that's not
really a factor. It's just.
I agree with Charles saying, but also at the same time, I also have to put some accountability on the organizations. Like a guy, I always bring up Devin Booker. I bring up Zach LaVine, putting up numbers, going crazy. They didn't have the team aspect around them. But it's just kind of like they didn't get like nominated to the All-Star game because of that. Now they're winning, they're dominating, and then like you said, Charles, like Devin Booker can't even be in the MVP conversation. So it's like you said, they kind of always pick and choose who they like and who they don't like.
Well, they should want someone in the global market anyway. You think about Giannis and Luke, who have won Joker in Denver the last 3 years. I mean, it's been someone outside the U.S. who won the MVP. So it's all about branding for the league. The more they can brand them guys. And remember, San Antonio had all them Europeans, so I mean, it is what it is. Like when Nash won over Shaq. Nash should have never won the MVP that year. Shaq should have won it. But he's from Canada. He's from Canada. And they was in that market. And you see what happened. They got a team over there. Vinsanity. You get, at least 15 players in the league from Canada.
Yeah. I mean, the league definitely has its favorites, and I know people won't, say that out loud, but it's pretty obvious. It is what it is, but it's definitely a thing. But before we let you go, Charles, man, if you don't mind, obviously just, give us one final word or just another tidbit about your overall book, The Last Enforcer.
It's a book. It's an amazing book. Michael Jordan did the foreword. Got a lot in the book about my grandfather. He was a cornerstone of the family. How he made everything go. How I copied his mode. Being physical, being tough-minded, growing up, and just just good, easy reading book. I'm not gonna let you down. The consistency in me in my life, and this is how this book is all the way through it. 269 pages, 270 pages. So you got to go out and get it. Amazon, book, Barnes & Noble. You can Google it if you can't find that. I'm not. Just keep trying.
Facts. All right, y'all. Again, appreciate you again for being on the show. The Last Enforcer, y'all. Make sure y'all go check it out. All right, appreciate you again, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's up, y'all? It's Theus McBee. Make sure you go follow No Pump Fakes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your podcasts.